good evening, and welcome to Conversations with Entrepreneurs. I am your host, Alethea Brown with Mahogany Production, and I am joined tonight with my co-host. Let's start with you, Julie, since it's been a while.
Hello, Julie Logan, owner operator of Popcorn Heaven Steel Creek and J. Logan Business Support Services. Good to be back with you.
And Chanel.
We miss Julie. Chanel Varner with Moonglade Travel. Happy to be here.
And Jeff.
What's up, everybody? It's Jeff White with Yes We Did Virtual Learning Center. And yes, we are so happy to see Julie back. She's been missed tremendously. And we don't feel complete without all of us here. So it's a wonderful day.
Yeah, we try to hold it down, but it just don't seem right when we ain't all here. And Dion.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. I'm happy to be back with the crew, the Get Fresh crew.
Oh. So tonight we're going to discuss a topic that Jeff, as our resident wellness coach and certified professional trainer, was talking about the vaccination conflicts that have been in the headlines. So before we get started, please note that the viewpoints that will be shared for this show is based on current headlines regarding the ongoing push for people to get vaccinated to keep their jobs, either go to school, participate in specific event activities, or either to travel via specific airlines. The list is constantly growing, and we felt this was a conversation we wanted to bring up. So tonight we're going to let's talk vaccination, to do or not to do, the impact as an entrepreneur and an employee. However, as we're speaking about this, we will say it again at the end of the show. Speak with your physician to assist you in your decision. So Jeff, since you started this with this article, I'm gonna let you get started first.
There's so many levels to this story, and it's a very passionate story too. I personally believe it's your choice. If you want to get vaccinated, please do. If you don't, you should be able to not get vaccinated. Because if you think about it, if you are sick and in the hospital, you can refuse medical treatment. You can refuse treatment, and they have to honor that. So if you're healthy, why can't they do the same? Why can't you do the same? So, I mean, I just think that it's not right to force someone. Now, with that said, that's what they're doing. And so people have to do what they have to do for themselves. For me, this all comes back to what I've been preaching about for the last 7 years. And this is why you need to have multiple streams of income and passive income, because just because you're okay with the mandates right now and you approve of them, that does not mean in the future they will have another mandate and you might be uncomfortable with that mandate. And now you're in a position where you have to do something you don't want to do. So we're setting ourselves up for a really dangerous precedent. And if we allow it to keep going, no telling where we're going to end up. And so I really think that it's a very sticky situation. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you. And unfortunately, people are getting pushed into a corner and they are being forced to do something they don't want to do. And I said this in a recent post also. Heaven forbid someone gets the vaccination because their job forced them to get it, but then they get laid off or fired. So now what? Now you're in a whole nother situation you don't want to be in. So it all comes back to taking care of yourself. And when I say take care of yourself, I mean doing everything you can to strengthen your body on a health tip. Doing everything you can to strengthen your immune system. That's number one. That's above everything else. And number two, having multiple streams of income. Too many of us rely on one source of income. And if that one source of income gets disrupted, we are stuck. Or they force you to do something you don't want to do, which is what they're doing right now. Now, I'm going to say this one last thing, I'm going to move on. This is why they don't teach financial literacy in school. They don't teach entrepreneurship in school because this is a way of control. If everybody thought like me, and I'm not talking about all my thoughts, just thinking like on a business term, a business aspect, if everyone thought like me, this would not even be an issue, because I distinctly remember when I left my job in corporate America, people were like, oh, he won't make it. He's not going to survive. And I'm like, watch me, because I have all these different ideas in my head. I'm not coming back. So if you get threatened with your job, you can say, wait a minute, I know how to start a business. I know how to create these multiple streams of income. Yeah, it can take some time, but you're not going to force me to do something I don't want to do. So they're backing us into a corner. And unfortunately, a lot of people do not know how to get out of it. So it's a really tough situation for all of us involved.
Yeah, I agree, because I think the next fight is going to be the vaccination plus no longer being able to work remotely. Julie, let's do you.
Well, if you go back several episodes that we've had, when we talked about the vaccine, of course, I was one of the ones that says, I am not getting it. I will fight you before I get it. But to be honest, then I had to really think about it and think about my business and protect myself. So it goes back to what Jeff said, protecting yourself. And so I really had to think about that, really had to pray about that. And so I made the decision, one, to protect myself, to protect my employees, because I am in a retail shop, right? And so many people come in and I don't know if they've been vaccinated or not. Well, what I can do is not worry so much about them, but worry about me and my employees, which is why I decided to do that. My employees complied. As a matter of fact, they all had gotten their vaccination before I did, which was a good thing. But I think the question is if folks are forced to go back to work, what are these organizations doing to protect employees, vaccination or not?
Right.
And doing a little research, it says, every employee has to provide a safe work environment, right? And then what do you do to do that? Do they improve their ventilation? All of that kind of stuff. And so there's so many protocols that they have to think about, so many risk factors that they have to think about, and try not to force someone to get it based on religion, based on medical condition, if you will. So it's kind of like a balancing act. Do you? Don't you? How can I? Should I? All of that kind of stuff. So it just goes back to what Jeff said. You have to protect you. You have to protect your family and do what's best for you and your family.
Dion, we'll go to you next, because I know you work with a lot of youth in your program. So definitely looking forward to hearing what you said.
Yeah, thank you too. And Julie, that was like really smart, the way you just asked that question, like what will the facilities do even, moving forward. And I just think it really speaks to some of what Jeff White was talking about, like this ability to choose. How far does it go or not go? Maybe I should say how regulated will it become even the more, just with things like the vaccine. You were talking about like the shows and the episodes we've had. If the people archive our episodes and our shows, they'll be able to see us talking about this becoming mandated when it first happened. Yeah. We've been all over it from the beginning, even like, especially like with us having being blessed to have like Chanel with the Chanel-Inette, because Chanel's business during COVID was completely different than anybody else's business that we are closely affiliated with, especially on the podcast. I'll say, like you just couldn't go anywhere and you couldn't just show up and you had to have this to fly and stuff. But it really just challenges. This has a new, I said before we start, this is like a new version of segregation, the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, and all of the parameters and the stuff that comes with it, the consequences and the effects. It has been, it is so precarious, especially like with the work I do in mental health, so you're working through mental health issues But in mental health, there is always this tie to this physiological thing. A lot of people that have mental health issues, they have some very physical challenges too. And so what we worked a lot with, depending on age and culture and creed, Julie, you said religion, I've worked with some people that due to their religious beliefs, they're not going to take the vaccine, you know, and things of that nature. And so you have, it's just very broad. It's very broad in the work that I do, fam, the different places I go. So I have some stuff coming up that I'll actually be in Charlotte every weekend in the month of November. We'll be doing some mental health teaching and stuff like that. We are able to gather these people. They don't have to have, quote unquote, the vaccination, but they got to do some of these other things, Jeff White, they got to prove their last COVID test, and which is the same thing, just in a very minor version. It's still that effect on your ability to choose and now prove your choice and things of that nature. So it's kind of broad like that, Alethea. It's kind of broad like that with the work that I do, especially depending on where I go. One-on-one, I have some families that you can't come in unless, and then I have some other families that you can't come in if you got the vaccine. They don't even appreciate that or whatever, for whatever reason. So yeah, it's kind of wide open. But I just want to say that again. This is quickly becoming the new segregation, and it's affecting morale, business, the mental health of the entirety. I love, Jeff, how you always tie everything back to this is why entrepreneurship is such a great look, or you should at least give it a try. Because no matter what choice anybody kind of pushes you to make, if you have some of the power, if you have more of it than not, then you get to dictate that, And so I love how you always tie that back in. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on that.
Chanel?
All good points. The lens that I'll speak from is travel related, just because that's just the industry that I'm in. And we've been, of course, impacted by, vaccine status and such, especially recently. I believe last month, Hawaii implemented what's called Safe Access Oahu, which is mandating that you must show proof of vaccination or proof of a negative COVID test within 48 hours to dine in restaurants, go to bars, theaters, gyms, you name it. So like you said, Jeff, I think it's about choice. Let me choose. If I want to get vaccinated, sure, let's go ahead and do that. I have options. But if I don't, granted, now I have to jump through hoops. I have clients going to Hawaii next week that are not vaccinated. So they're literally going to have to take a test every 2 days. I don't mind being inconvenienced if I so choose, but at least give me that option than to force me into getting a vaccine. So that's kind of where I kind of ride the fence with it. I do like the opportunity to choose, or at least give options if that's the case. But Julie, you made a good point. I get it as far as workplace and businesses and establishments. It's, you want to keep your people safe, you want to stay safe, but you still have to run a business. You still need to run your business. So I think it definitely puts several people into a tough spot. But at the end of the day, I think as far as rights are concerned, like you said, Dion, as far as segregation, it really is that's the question of the day now. It's not black or white. It's not income status or economic status. It's are you vaccinated or not? And you're treated differently, unfortunately. But so I don't know what the future is going to hold when it comes to work or travel or school even. It's tough. It is tough. But think about businesses. Like you said, even being an entrepreneur, if I was a small business owner in Hawaii right now, I'm still impacted. I'm still impacted because now I have to tell my customers they're going to have to either show a vaccine card or show proof of a COVID test. So I think it's just putting a huge strain on all industries, on families who have different viewpoints, on friends that have different viewpoints. So I think it's gonna take some work for us to get to a happy medium, unfortunately.
For me, independent filmmaking, when this pandemic first happened, it looked as though we were going to be able to travel abroad for the production. But then it seems like things are going to drag out. And I was tasked with, well, what's going to be the cost so you can test people if we let you go ahead and do the production there? And I'm just barely getting you to agree to fund the project. Now I got to add tests, COVID tests on a daily basis. And then have all these other little special things that they were saying. And it was like, it was just getting to be like way too much. Like, I don't have Oprah money. Y'all not giving me that much of a budget type thing, you know? And then when it came down to it, like, okay, United States has cooties. So if you guys want to travel to the UK, you know, you got to be vaccinated. And, you know, it was a choice. People have right, but majority of the people that were going to be part of that particular production team, they were okay with it. The ones that weren't, I understood why. I chose to get vaccinated when my daughter and I were traveling to the Aruba. I didn't want to risk with the medical conditions that I know that I have and catching it. And so I took the option to say, okay, I'm going to be vaccinated for this, you know, and I don't have any regrets about it, you know, but it is a personal choice. Everybody has it. But as Jeff has said, it's eventually going to be down to that point where people are going to have to choose vaccination or my job, vaccination or my income type thing. And if we're looking and reading all the headlines right now, the United States is behind everyone as far as getting their citizens vaccinated. And so this division that's created in our country where we see people at these school board meetings and, you know, the issue with the kids being in school and who should and who shouldn't be vaccinated. There are all these different arguments out there. And I think just as parents or members of the community, we shouldn't rely so much on social media for our assessment of vaccinations. I think consulting with your physician is a good thing. Calling a nurse hotline that they have is a good thing, you know, to be duly informed, which is going to be best for you and your family. My daughter told me earlier today that one of her friends from, oh my God, they met in third grade. She had let her daughter go to a birthday party at a family member's house. Turns out somebody there had COVID. And so now this 10-year-old child has COVID. So now everyone that's at that birthday party now has to quarantine. The 10-year-old daughter is normally babysitted by her grandmother. So now the grandmother has to be on quarantine. So you get all these ripple effects as to, you know, what one person can do that can just shake things up in multiple families. And if you're thinking about it that way, then maybe there's a different way to approach it. I understand the fear, but, you know, even if you just get the first shot or the second shot, and I'm not recommending anybody do anything that's not in their heart. I'm just saying, look into what you think is going to be best for you and the safety of you and your family where this is coming. I think the Delta variant is really what's making them do that uptick in it because, you know, what works for one may not work for all. So, you know, there are a lot of reasons why they're pushing this. But again, we would say, speak with your physician to assist you with your decision. We're not trying to sway you one way or the other. We just want to bring this conversation to your attention because it's been in the headlines so much. And we just felt we wanted to kind of give you a different perspective of why people have chosen to do it or the industry that we're in that may have determined the decision that we have all made in the midst of this pandemic that's dragging out. We're on like year 2 right now with this pandemic. So we wanted to not very often to 3 years if we can, even though the pandemic we had in 1917, 1918 actually lasted about 3 years as well. So just look
I'm gonna be honest with you, fam. I don't see it. I don't know if I should say I don't see COVID going away, but I think this will be like the new flu shot type thing,
Yeah.
you know. And it'll be, you're welcome, Jeff. It'll be like the new flu shot and all that other kind of stuff, you know. And because again, without discounting any of the medical and all the other stuff, there is a tie to money that all of this always has connected with it. More masks, more money. More vaccines, more money. More hospitals, more money. I read a great quote the other day, y'all. It said, and it was just, I was just reading different material. Announcement to our audience again. You can find anything you want to see also on the internet too. So you can find, if you wanted to agree with you can probably find an article, right? So one of the articles was talking about that the people that are vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, it's not, Chanel, at a lower rate, it's just at a slower rate.
Yeah.
And so now that adds a medical understanding to it, or whatever the case may be. And so yeah, I just really appreciate all the freedom to make a choice out of my own volition, and that's not based on somebody saying if you do or if you don't. It's really based on the way that I work with, to, and for myself. It helps to be in that kind of position in a moment like this, so you can really have some power and some control, and you can make some own decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dion. I would say I'd kind of come back a little bit on the medical piece of it. So I have a friend of mine that's in the medical industry. And she's right there in the hospital. And she says, of course, all of the cases that they're seeing that are coming into the hospital are of those that are not vaccinated, unfortunately. So they're seeing a lot more of those cases coming into the hospital than before. So
I disagree with that assessment. If they're unvaccinated, they should turn them away. I don't like the idea that people are floating that around. So I think as a society, we probably want to rethink those statements that they've been putting out lately. But I can understand the stress. It's like on the nurses. I mean, it's been a long time for us. We're just complaining about places we can't go, didn't go, and all this other stuff. But the nurses were working very long shifts, very, very long shifts, in contending with people coming in there that, weren't doing self-care for them or their family. So I can understand the frustration. Nurses, we lost a lot of nurses. Nurses are walking off of the job. So that's something to keep in mind too. This is an entire workforce that can be lost at such a critical time.
And I also believe too, here in North Carolina, the governor, I believe it was the governor, or it could be across the state. Didn't they try to entice people to get the vaccination by giving them $100 or something like that? I believe
they were doing lottery drawings and all this other kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
they've
right,
done
lottery
everything.
drawings. Yes, lottery drawings.
Pekino.
Donuts.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Krispy
Yeah.
Kreme trying to get people gain weight all through the pandemic. Like we needed extra help with them Krispy Kreme donuts, and some were giving free hamburgers, extra drink, like all these little different things to entice people. I'm like, really?
But here's the irony of all that free stuff they were giving out. If you look at the reasons of COVID severity, it's because of obesity, high blood pressure, and stuff like that. Why are you going to give away stuff that makes those conditions worse? Someone explain that to me. And personally, like I said before, I have no problem if a person wants the vaccine or not. Where is the conversation about what we can do to keep ourselves healthy in the first place? Because there are some people who have had COVID and just had mild symptoms. Some had worse, as we all know. But at the same time, just like with the flu, and every other, virus out there, they have talked about ways to keep yourself healthy. They've given tips on things you can do. Where's that information? Why is it just vaccine or nothing? I have a problem with that. Not only that, I have a problem with people who say, well, I'm healthy, I'm good, I don't have to get it. Well, what are you doing to keep yourself healthy? I'm good. No, you're not good. You still have to do something every day to keep your body healthy, because you cannot take this lightly. This is very serious. Don't blow this off. And so I think that's a major problem that we have, that we're not talking about other things you can do to be proactive to help yourself, whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. At the end of the day, you still have to do something to protect yourself, because how do you know there won't be a variant that comes out in 6 months to a year that bypasses the vaccine? We don't know. But if they don't know it even comes out and sneaks up on you, your first line of defense is going to be your immune system. And that should be the first thing that's talked about. After the vaccine, let's talk about what you can do to keep yourself healthy. And then you guys, Chanel, you brought up something. I'm gonna say this real quick. I know you want to say something too. You brought up something real important that I want to talk about too. Businesses are suffering because not only do they have to, get vaccinated workers, they're losing workers. We already know there are a lot of businesses out there that are losing people, and now they're struggling to find new workers. And think of all the customers they are losing because they are being told that you can't come if you're not vaccinated. These cities, these states, they need revenue from these businesses. And what you're doing is you're just hampering them from making money. And all it's doing is hurt the economy in more ways than people have really realized. So I don't know if they thought this through, if there's another agenda or what's going on, but in the end, it's hurting everyone to have these mandates like this, because these businesses are going to be suffering because they just may not be able to get the customers. They may lose employees, like some teachers are walking out, police are walking out. I'm all about choice. If you want to get the vaccine, by all means, please get it. If you don't want to get it, you should have that choice too. But I don't think they're just handling this properly at all. In any aspect, it's just being handled correctly, in my opinion. Just my opinion, y'all.
Chanel.
That's a good point, Jeff. You said several key things that were pretty spot on. For me, I just think, like you said, it's about choice. But then, I know someone close to me who actually is vaccinated but recently contracted COVID and was very ill. So it's not like they're not getting, if you're vaccinated, you don't get sick, that's not the case here. So that, I think, is really what makes it difficult for me. It's okay, yes, you want me to go get vaccinated, but I still can get COVID. I still can get ill from, so I think it's just, in my opinion, I know we're clarifying whose opinion is whose, but it just, more research, I think, just needs to be done, more questions that need to be answered before I think a lot of us feel comfortable with making that decision. But again, I think it should be a choice.
But let's be clear too. Let's be very clear. The reason some businesses are suffering from a labor force perspective, and I think I mentioned this on one of our other episodes, is the stimulus checks that people are getting, unemployment that they're getting. So they feel like, I probably get more money with these stimulus checks than I could going to work. So why would I go back and get a job, right? So it's so many. That's another episode.
But nationwide on September the 4th, all of that ended for everybody. Just like even regular unemployment is no longer available. Everything ceased on September the 4th. So
And we're supposed to be running out of money too.
yeah,
They
right.
get money. What they talking about?
We make money every
Listen, we've all taken the vaccine unknowingly. They tell us anything. Now they're running out of money. It is phenomenal. It is phenomenal.
And then with the different things that people are saying, that they're, by taking a vaccine, they putting a chip in you and all that kind of stuff. Well, hell, the chip is in your cell phone, right? So they tracking you anyway, right? Come on. It's all kind of craziness on whether you get it or whether you don't. So
Hey, you know what?
I'm so over it.
I'm over it too. And Julie, you brought up another. It's too many variables to this.
Too many.
It's too many. And oh, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. But it's too many variables to this. Oh, remember the guy who came on, Terrell White?
Mhm.
Came on. He was talking about psychological warfare. That's exactly what was going on right now. And they have it, the analytics when you go online. If they know the type of stories you like to see, they will feed you those stories. And so, like Drew, like you said, we can call it conspiracy theories or whatever you want to call it. If the analytics know that's the type of information you like, you'll get flooded with that information, and it'll reinforce what you believe, and it just polarizes us even more. And so it's like a big divide that really doesn't have to be there, but it's almost like it's being done to us and people don't even realize it. Like I said, so many variables to this. And if people could just have a talk like we're having a talk right now, just be open and just share views and respect each other, it would be so much better. But everyone is just picking a side, and like Dee said, this is the new segregation. This really is, and it's just not right any way you look at it. And it's a very dangerous path that we're going down, because again, one day, yes, she may be fully in agreement with everything that's going on right now, but how do you know one day they won't come back and do something that you don't like, and now you're stuck? And I think that's where we're headed. We were locked in our houses for 2 years. You couldn't work. Even though Walmart was open, your small business was forced to close. You had to wear your mask. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what happened. And now we're going through this where if you don't get vaccinated, you can't get a job, you can't go to school, you can't go to the park, you can't do anything. So this is a very dangerous slope that we're going down, that people need to really pay attention, look at the big picture.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, Jeff, because of all that's been going on, violence is still not the answer. Trying to harass or intimidate someone to your point of view is not the answer.
That makes it worse.
We got too many adults running around here acting like bullies on the schoolyard, just to try to make people see their point of view, express it, but you can't force it. Yeah, well, government can do certain things, but that's not a program. It's just not worth it to the extremes. We need to become more knowledgeable, seek out more knowledge. Again, speak with your physicians for the steps you need to take as far as vaccination. But in our communities, what are we teaching our kids when they're seeing all this stuff, on TVs and TikToks and all kinds of craziness going around? It's like
Speaking of TikTok,
social standards. Uh-oh.
Speaking of TikTok, if you want to learn how to build your immune system, please visit at Jeffrey_White on TikTok. He has everything that you can imagine that will help. And it's good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. All kinds of natural things that you can take to help build your immune system, COVID or no COVID. We just need to do that, period.
Just a little something I threw together.
But Julie, black seed oil still tastes like dirt.
Yeah, still tastes like a burnt tire to me, but to somebody else it could be something different.
Black seed oil still tastes like dirt.
Eat some popcorn after, you'll be okay.
Oh, no,
But I could definitely say I do feel the difference in a lot of it. So I appreciate Jeff for recommending it. The first spoonful, you won't see an impact, but if you're consistent, as Jeff recommends, a lot of the natural processes are really, really good in boosting your immune system. And of course, again, speak with your physician to assist you with your decisions.
Especially if you have dealing with pre-existing conditions, because it seems to be the number one uptick in a lot of the cases. Most people have a pre-existing condition, so just want to take care of yourself all the way around.
So we're going to head into last words, and I'm going to let Chanel start last words.
Great conversation, guys. I think very, intuitive. I always appreciate learning something new when we come together and when we have different opinions on things. I love that about us. So I think for me, last words are, really identify what's important to you and make the decision that's best for you, your life, and your family at the end of the day.
Julie?
Well, as I said before, Chanel said it, definitely your choice on which side of the spectrum you want to go. But I will always say it's going to take all of us to get us out of this.
Yeah.
Well, I am so happy the crew was back together. This was such a great conversation for us to just all come back together on too. And I would just like to echo some of the things we said, the preventative things. Be healthy no matter what, these things like that. Take as much control economically as you can for yourself, to yourself, by yourself. Do that prior to things and stuff like that, because like Jeff White was saying, whatever choice you are on the side of today, it could turn at some point. And so you just want to always be empowered. I feel like doing the her thing, Julie, you do the empowered and resilient and the holistic and everything, all that stuff. Right. So great show. Always, like Chanel said, I learn every time I speak with you guys, for real.
Jeff?
Letha, you said something very important at the end. When has people being violent against each other actually helped anything? I mean, seriously, if you're trying to prove a point with violence, you're going to get violence in return. If you can sit down and talk to someone, more importantly, listen to someone with an open mind, you just might hear something that can benefit you. And like you guys said, but Julie, you said this especially, we got to come together because we have to work together to overcome this. That's very important. And again, it's your choice, but whatever you decide to do, you must do everything you can to strengthen your immune system. And again, get those multiple streams of income, because you don't want to be backed into a corner and forced to do something you don't want to do. But if you want to get it or you don't want to get it, I'm perfectly fine with that. We all can work together. We all can live together peacefully. It's your choice, and I have no problem with that.
I agree. It's not a black or white thing, it's a health thing. So it boils down to. And before we go, again, the disclaimer. The viewpoints that we shared on the show tonight was based on current headlines regarding the ongoing push for people to get vaccinated, to keep their jobs, go to school, participate in specific event activities, to travel via specific airlines. The list is growing. We ask that you research it yourself. If you have questions about COVID-19's vaccination, please speak with your physician to assist you with that. And we'd like to say good night. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next week.